Welcome everybody. It's another beautiful episode of Parents and Children Interactive Section, and today I'm here with another beautiful topic: children and the mobile phone, the pros and the cons. Oh my God. Okay, so I'll start by saying, while growing up, there was nothing like mobile phone. I grew up without mobile phone because I remember those days we had landlines, and then there was little access to landline. Personally, the home I grew up in, we had nothing like landline. So after a while, my grandma had a landline, and we always go there to make calls and all that. And then you know how difficult it was to get the credit on the landline, and we grew up so beautifully. You know, I remembered some time ago, my daughter was asking me, she said, how did you guys communicate? How were you able to relate with your relatives? They were far away. I said, we related so fine. We did more of letter writing. And then I remembered my mom telling me that during their day, in their own day, when they were much younger, they used telegram. Yes, they used fax machine and telegrams. But then we used the post office. We wrote letters, and it was fun. Communication was beautiful. Nowadays, we have the mobile phone replacing almost everything. And then we have the mobile phone, which makes the world a more global place. I can pick up my phone now, and make a call to any country, to anywhere, and real time, I'll get to talk with someone. And I know then, if anyone ever told us that it was going to be possible, it looked more like a mirage. But right here, we are there in the days of mobile phone, where every day canary has a mobile phone. I tell you, I don't think I've met anyone recently without a mobile phone. Even the poorest of the poor, at least in a circle of poor people, one person has a phone, and they're communicating with that phone. So the issue at hand is our children. What's going on? How do we help our children and mobile phone? I wouldn't lie to you, it's much more of a concern to me. At first, it wasn't much of a concern, but with what's going on, I think this is a topic we all really need to sit down and talk about. Nowadays, we have little children having cell phones to themselves, and these cell phones are registered with call cards. Some are even on the internet. You know, some are connected to the internet, and these children have access to everything and anything at all that goes on in the world. And now, today we want to discuss what are the pros and the cons. Do we think it's good for our children to have cell phones, or is it bad? Should the government regulate the use of phone, as in regulate children's use of phone? Should parents regulate? What do we do? How do we even pass across this message that the phone is not so amazing to be found in the hand of a child? Then at what age should a child be found with a cell phone? Okay, nowadays we have children as little as 5-year-old having their own cell phone. And the excuse is this: you hear parents say, I want to be able to talk with my child anytime I want to talk with them. I want to be at reach. I want to know what's going on with them and all that. And my own personal view, these are my views. Anything I'm saying today, kindly note that they are my views. And I'm sure that everyone has their own view. Everyone have their view and know the things that best suits them. But here we're trying to discuss and say, are we really doing the right thing? Are my views actually good enough? Or there are places I need to adjust? Honestly, I would like to engage with each and every one of us. And if you ever come across this video, kindly take time to engage in the comment section. I would like to have your own personal view. Let's join us together. Let's learn, relearn, unlearn, and let's do something together. All we want to see are children, healthy children that are brought up healthy and sound. That's all we want. And anyhow we get the results, I think we should do something about it. Okay, back to what I was saying. We have children as little as 5-year-old holding cell phones. and you hear parents saying, oh, I want to be able to speak with my child anytime I want to. When they go to school, I want to be able to call and say, how are you doing? Are you back home? Have you eaten? Oh my. Yes. And then I ask myself, okay, if the school says we don't want to see cell phones in the hand of the children, or if something happens and we can't put the cell phone in the hand of that 5-year-old, is there any other way the parents can get to communicate with the child? And the answer is yes. You can always call the school management, you can always call the teachers, you can always call your nannies, you can always install a CCTV at home to watch them, check what they are doing part time, know where they are around the house and all that. These are all the things that you can do outside putting a cell phone in the hand of a 5-year-old. So personally, if you ask me, at what age should a child be handed over a cell phone? I think it should be at the age where the child has been well groomed to know and to understand what is good and what is right. Once the child is matured enough to take care of themselves, matured enough to handle some kind of prayers and shocks, then they are good to use the cell phone. And when we say they are good to use the cell phone, you know, there are different kinds of this cell phone. You can have a cell phone without internet. All these are our small phones that are not Android phones, phones that just have the SIM card for SMS and for calls. Yes, they are available in the market. And then we have the complete phone that has the internet connections with them, that you can connect to the internet, and then you get to browse and get to enter deeply into the social world, where you get to know what and what is going on. So for a 5-year-old, personal opinion, is not good enough for a little child to have a phone in the name of, I want to communicate, I want to know what's going on. There are landlines, and there are still available landlines that you can get, buy and install in the house. And then with that landlines, you can call the children, get to talk with them, get to know what they're doing, where they are at home, and all that. That communication without exposing them to the internet. Also, we have some parents who allow their children to play with their phones as toys. There are toys in the market. Your children are so young, at that young age of 2, 1, 1-year-old, 2-year-old, 3-year-old, the only toy they have or they know is their parents' phone. They sit with your phone, they watch movies, you say, no, they are not, they are restricted to what I want them to see. But then they build the addiction of being glued to the mobile phone. That also, for me, is a no-no. So when we talk about the usage of phones, I think it's just like any other random thing. It's just like the TV, like the radio, like whatever. And then these are things that you can build restrictions around, or you can limit the things that you use them to do. For example, if you have a television at home, it's possible that there are things the television is limited to. Probably there are stations that are not subscribed to. You definitely will not get to watch them. There are things that are not on the TV screen. You definitely will not get to see them. Same thing applies to the phone. If ever you have to give a child a phone, I think it is good for us to restrict the things that are made available in the cell phones that will be handed over to the children. So for me, for children that are still very young, little children, honestly, children below the age of 10, they don't need a cell phone. And if at all, then they must have a cell phone. It should be a cell phone that is not connected to the internet in any way. It should be a cell phone that just receives call, makes call, send SMS, just text messages, and it ends there. So anything that exposes children to the internet is not good for them at a very tender age. So that being said, is it possible, just like I've said, to do without the cell phone, as in to ensure that the children are without the cell phone? Yes, it's possible. If you sit down properly, if you think deeply, you will find other ways through which you can communicate and reach your children without them having a cell phone. You can always engage the school. My children go to schools where they say they don't want to see cell phones with any child, even in secondary school. They will tell you it's prohibited. You don't come to school with a cell phone. And how do we get to reach them? You call their school management, you call their teachers. Even if you want to talk to them, they can always give them the phone and you get to talk to them. So that being said, the excuse of any parents wanting to reach their children by all means and using the cell phone as using that communication as an excuse, it's not a good one at all, and definitely does not fly. It does not hold waters. So it's possible to make the children stay without phone. Now, are there dangers attached to exposing our little children to phones? Yes, there are a lot of them. There are a whole lot of them. Okay, even the ones of just calling and sending SMS, sending text messages, because the phone is a device that connects, it somehow connects the whole world together. When a child has a number of a particular child, or maybe exchanges phone contacts with another child, it is possible that they get to keep talking on phone. You cannot restrict the kind of people or the kind of communication or the kind of call your child makes if they have access to the cell phone. So most times you do not get to know everything they do with the cell phone, let alone the one that is now connected to the internet. So it is not good at all. If we must be very frank and if we must help this generation, it is not good at all to expose our children to cell phones. So I know a lot of people will come for me and say, oh, what do you mean the world is advanced everywhere? Yes, the world is advanced. And this advancement is why we are seeing a lot of decayed children. We are seeing a lot of children that, oh my God, they are just out of the way. So how do we remedy? How do we help this generation? One of the things that we can do is to correct the abuse of cell phones, correct the abuse of exposures to cell phones. When you talk about teenagers, we've been talking about little children, even teenagers that are in secondary school. I get to ask people, how do you control the kind of things your children watch? Personally, my children have phone, and I can't remember any day have collected their phones to say, oh, let me go through your chats, let me go through your phones and all that. And then most times you'll find out that it's even difficult. Even when you tell them that, oh, let me go through your chats, let me go through your call logs, let me see who you've been talking with. Children of nowadays are so smart that in a twinkle of an eye, they can get rid of anything that could implicate them. And it is just their special grace or just by sheer luck that you get to catch them red-handed doing some of the things you would have not wanted them to do. So one of the things that we should do right now is to begin to sensitize our children about the dangers of exposing themselves to the wrong contents, to most of the wrong contents that are being circulated on social media. There are a lot of things going on social media. Just because you are ignorant as a parent does not mean everything is fine, or does not mean your children will be ignorant. The children of nowadays know a lot more because they get to mingle with other children who are more exposed. And even if they were not exposed from the home, they get to mingle with children that are already exposed, children that know more than they should know. They get to communicate with them. They get to tell them about some links, some videos, some things circulating. And when they get back to the comfort of the house, they would always want to try it out and check these things out. And before you know it, they begin to build habits that are out of hand. So for me, there must be a way to disconnect our children from mobile phones. Currently, it's getting so out of hand. Our children are already trapped in the use of phone. And when you go to houses now, you find almost every child with a cell phone. They open it up. And what are you doing with your phone? Oh, I'm browsing. I'm chatting with my friend. I'm doing this and that. And most times, the things that they do with their phones are way out of point. They are not things to be proud of. Whereas, there are other positive things that they can do with their cell phones. There are other beautiful things that they can get to do with their cell phones. And then they will come out beautiful and then we'll be proud of them. But how would they get to know these things? And then how do we block them from the ones that are not so good for them? One of the things I think we should do as parents are, from time to time, you can always go through your children's phone. Just impromptu. Ask them to bring their phones. Open it up. Check their call log. Check their browsing history. Check the things that they have been doing. Get to know who they've been communicating with and how they have been communicating. You know, it will be wrong for me to say, oh, go hack into your children's cell phone and get to hear their discussions and everything. No, I remember those days when we were much younger, the cell phones in the houses, there would always be a parent's phone, the main phone in our parents' room, and then there will be another one, the general one. And if you dare pick a call or you make a call on the general one, your parents can always pick up the ones in their rooms and then listen to your conversation. Yes, those days. And then they get to hear everything you're saying because it's so connected, and they get to hear your conversation and everything. There are also ways through which you can do that. Just the only issue we have is that parents are more or less now very negligent. We are just so negligent. We are too busy. We don't want to check. We don't want to really dig into what our children do with their cell phones. We are not so interested. I think it is good for us to build interest. And if your child is attending any school where cell phones are prohibited, kindly cooperate with the school to make sure that your children are not using the cell phones. Rather than buying the cell phone for them, you can get them a laptop, you can get them an iPad, and then you can restrict the apps and the things that will be on the laptops and on the iPhones. And then if peradventure you feel, oh, my children can handle themselves, I know who they are, I know they are good children, once in a while, kindly sit them down and talk to them, advise them, educate them on the importance of staying sane on social media, and then staying sane while making use of their devices, of their cell phone devices. We have a lot of work to do as parents, even as guardians. We have a whole lot of work to do. Nowadays, children are exposed to pornography. Children are exposed to so many vices. They're exposed to so many vices. So many evil things are going on out there on social media. They are exposed to a whole lot. They get to learn a whole lot. Even some to the extent of being initiated. Children are being initiated on social media. And then all these things are being accessed via their cell phone. And also, outside all these things I've said, some children are now so addicted. You find them addicted to things like games, things are not just so useful. Things are not adding value to them at the expense of things that they can do that could add value to them. So you can engage them by buying up courses for them, online courses, encourage them to watch videos that would add value to them, educational materials. So much as we have a lot of bad things on the social media, also we have a lot of things that can inspire, things that can build, things that can add value. So why we are saying, oh, because I've had a lot of people say, oh, I want my children to have access. I remember very well, my children started using phone during the COVID. And then my husband said, oh, these children are so bored. I need them to get to have something that will keep them busy, where they can learn, where they can do a lot of things. Actually, I kicked against it at first. I said, no, I don't think it's a good idea. But then we're all locked up inside, and there was nothing we can do. And the easiest thing was for everyone to start using their gadgets. Personally, during COVID, I had to keep myself busy by registering for an online sewing class. You can see, I registered for an online sewing class, and I did well with it. So he had to buy cell phones for them. And then that was how they had access to cell phone. Okay, did they learn a lot of good things via the cell phone? Yes, but at the same time, you can't rule out the fact that they could pick one or two bad things at the same time. In as much as you have good motives for them, also accidentally or just unknowingly, they could also pick up bad vices, and then they begin to pick the things that you would not want them to pick. So definitely, in a nutshell, we're still going to talk more on this topic. We want to know, should we find a way to stop the spread of the use of cell phone by children, or should we just allow them and guide them? The problem here is, for me, stopping them outrightly is not even the solution. Either way, we should find a way to control the things that they do, the things that they watch, control the things they are exposed to. And sometimes early exposure to cell phones could be dangerous, because when you expose them too early to cell phone, however people say no, early exposure is better. For me, early exposure is dangerous, because when you expose them too early, along the line you get to lose track of the fact that you still need to keep putting an eye on them and watching the things that they do. You say, oh, normally they are used to it. No, nobody, even as adults, sometimes you keep seeing content, you keep seeing things that are not beneficial or not good for your view. And what do? You just find a way to stop seeing them. Maybe go click on it that you are not interested, you don't want to see them away. Find a way to block the apps and all that. But for a younger person, especially people that have friends, you can find their friends sending it to them as a link and say, have you seen this video? And by the time they open it, it turns out to be a porn. You know, my son once shared an experience with me, someone he exchanged numbers with, and the guy sent him a link and said, would you like to join this group? And he said, what's the group about? And by the time he opened it, he saw it was a porn group, you know. And these are young children. These are very, very young children. So these are things that are circulating. And then one of the ways we can help is to encourage our children to speak up. Speak up when they are being sent link, where they see anything that is strange, outside the values that you have created and built for them. They should learn to speak up and say, oh, I saw this, I encountered this, and then how do I go about it? So in a nutshell, we have a lot of work to do when it comes to children and mobile devices, especially the cell phone. There is a lot to do, and I think the majority of the work is hanged on the neck of we as parents. We have a lot of work to do, not even the teachers. The school has a little to do. We as parents have a lot to do. So I would like to hear in the comment section, what do you think we should do? Should we stop the use of cell phones? Should we stop children? Should the government even go hard by restricting children from using cell phones? We as parents, should we go tougher by restricting our children from the use of cell phones? What can we do? And then they've already started using the cell phone. How can we help them? How can we regulate the things they are exposed to and what they do? What should we do? I would like to hear at the comment section. I would like to have your views, your opinion. If you have any comment that can help, if you know anything that can help, we'll kindly like to hear from you. If you are not in support of everything we've said, maybe you feel children should have access to their cell phones regardless of whatever, kindly state it in the comment section. Give your reasons, and let's all learn, relearn, and unlearn. Thank you so much for joining me today. Watch out again for more interesting topics. Kindly like this video, share with your friends, subscribe to this channel, and if possible, I would really, really love to read your comments and to hear from you. Thank you, and see you next time. Bye.